Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the SEAL Healthy Longevity webinar series. My name is Jocelyn Protopappas, and I'm the Manager of Special Projects at San Diego State University's Center for Excellence in Aging and Longevity. I'm really excited about our conversation today. Today, we are going to be diving into the world of fast-moving technology, where tools that we are seeing today feel like the sci-fi things that we used to see on television. And they're really impacting how we're aging, connecting, and really how we're doing day-to-day tasks. I was telling Jonathan, our guest today, before the session, I was telling him that earlier this month, we held our very first SEAL Tech Talk series. And we interviewed a panel of innovators in the field of technology who are transforming how older adults live and how individuals with disabilities live. From power wheelchairs that are able to drive on two wheels through all types of different terrain, and they're able to bring people up to eye level, to fall detection devices that are looking snazzier and snazzier, and also are able to help people connect with their loved ones versus immediately calling 911. So it's helping to make the connection a little bit easier. There's all kinds of different technologies that are coming to market to help support dignity, connection, and independence. There's one area of technology that seems to be dominating the headlines, though, and it's rapidly changing the face of innovation, and that's artificial intelligence. Our guest speaker today will be talking about how we can harness AI to help older adults live healthier, happier lives in their homes. A few pieces of just housekeeping before we jump into today. Our session today is being recorded. This webinar, along with Jonathan's previous webinar, are available on our SEAL website and on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions for Jonathan, please put them into the Q&A box that's at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to those at the end of our presentation. And if you have any challenges with technology or want to comment about how awesome this topic is or anything else, you are welcome to put that in the chat throughout our conversation. I've been alluding to our guest today, but again, I'm very excited to have him here. To lead today's discussion, I'm pleased to introduce Jonathan Schwartz. Jonathan holds a master's in gerontology from USC and brings over 20 years of experience in supporting older adults and their families. I also just learned that he's a stand-up comic. That's pretty epic. As the founder of Partners in Aging, he's a trusted advocate in navigating caregiving, senior living options, hospital advocacy, and long-term care planning. So I'm going to turn this over to Jonathan, and please help me welcoming him to the stage.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Really appreciate it. So glad to be back. And again, my name is John Schwartz with Partner in Aging, and I'm honored to be speaking to you about this fast-moving technology of AI, artificial intelligence, and how it can benefit all of us age well. The future of aging, how technology and AI are transforming senior care. I want you to think before I get into the presentation, just before we get started into the technology, kind of how we got here in society throughout the many centuries and thousands of years. So long ago, kings and princes and queens sent out their disciples to go and try and find the magic elixir we've always been looking for. How do we age better, right? And so kings sent out their people to find the magic waters to see, and spices and herbs to see what can allow us all to age a little bit better. And so this is a picture of that happening. And hundreds of years ago, that kind of led to this idea of alchemy. And alchemy now is responsible for the mixture of chemistry and what's led to somewhat of what modern medicine is today. Throughout history, we know this. We've had progress and then we've had setbacks. For those of you who don't recognize this, these are leeches. And I think about how many of you have been leeched before. Probably no one, not intentionally, but this was the medicine of choice. This was thought to be one of the greatest therapeutics for all diseases 1,000 years ago. It was used for a very long time, for centuries, as the therapy. Of course, we know this is not a tool. So again, medicine and technology go up, and then we learn something, and sometimes it goes down. But progress always is in the direction of up. Some progress here is in the 1940s and 1950s, we really saw an increase in average life expectancy. That average life expectancy is in large part due to improved sanitation and refrigeration. Antibiotics came about, right? That really increased our ability to age well as vaccines. And so this boy is getting a polio vaccine here. As we remember, this is the Iron Lung Hospital back in the 1940s, 1950s. This sadly was our national plan, was to build more of these iron lung machines until luckily we got the vaccine. History goes up, or progress goes up, and progress goes down throughout history. In the 1950s, 1960s, look at this news article. More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Can you believe it? Cigarettes were actually recommended by some doctors. Absolutely unbelievable. But then progress got better, right? In the 1980s, society became interested for the first time in fitness and aerobics. That's been a tremendous tool for longevity and health. Science continues to improve. In 2000, we were able to sequence the genetic code, and that's hopefully going to unleash more and more future therapies. All progress. But then history strikes again where there's a challenge. And this is the COVID virus and what the coronavirus looked like back in 2020, 2019. And this was a major setback in a lot of ways, but it unleashed something. What it unleashed is a massive acceleration. It being COVID released this massive acceleration in technology. What was thought to should have taken 10 plus years, all of a sudden compressed into 1 or 2 or 3 years. Think about Zoom. Think about so many telehealth. All of these technologies really became mainstream during that COVID era pandemic. And now we're looking at artificial intelligence and how that's going to unleash, I believe, just much higher quality of care and aging as well as longevity. I just want to show you just how interesting, life is, and this is not always the case, but this on the left is a picture of Tom Cruise, and on the right is the actor Wilford Brimley. This picture was taken after Wilford Brimley was in the movie Cocoon. But in both of these photos, these two men are 54 years old. Can you believe it? We're going to see more and more 50, 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old people looking a lot more like Tom Cruise than Wilford Brimley. There's no question, I don't want to sugarcoat the challenges of aging. There are certainly some. As a society, we have challenges as well as personally. By 2050, the world's population of those 60 plus are going to double. Oh my gosh, over the next 25 years, those 60 up, and I'm going to be one of them, will double. 85% of seniors, we know this, want to age in home, but is that going to be possible? So some of the concerns we have are around healthcare and certainly loneliness and isolation. Concerns around safety occur as we get older. Mobility becomes challenged. These are real challenges that I believe technology will have an answer for. And certainly we're all concerned about cognitive decline. In my opinion, there's 3 pillars of technology and aging. You have artificial intelligence or AI in robots or robotics. There's smart homes and wearables. And then there's digital healthcare, which includes social connection. And I'll explain all 3 of these different pillars as we go through the presentation. There's a picture of an Amazon Alexa, which helps make the home smarter. We have Siri, and then there's an Apple Watch. All different pieces of technology that have been around for a long time. This is not anything terribly new, but how these tools can really help people age well. One of the things I'm most excited about AI is around machine learning and the detection of early signs of aging. Medicine today is pretty good at being able to cure someone or fix someone if we catch the disease or an issue early. The challenge is with so many diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, many types of cancer, it's really hard to catch these diseases early on in the disease process. Imagine if very early on, before any symptoms come about, we catch some of these diseases. I believe better diagnostics will occur because of artificial intelligence and machine learning. We're going to have more personalized care because as a result. And something I'm very excited is predictive analytics help prevent falls and heart issues. One thing that we're working on right now in the world of predictive analytics are, there's the Apple Watch, but so many other hardware watch device or wearable devices, as well as sensors in the home that people can place. And imagine if we can detect something like a urinary tract infection, a UTI, before someone really starts to have a more significant reaction. Maybe that person is going to the bathroom a few more times a day than what's normal. These sensors or some type of wearable will detect that before that person even has significant symptoms and potentially alert their physician. Or let's say someone didn't get a great night's sleep, right, by wearing an Oura ring or some other type of wearable, right? Maybe that senior would benefit from having a caregiver come by in the morning to make sure that they're steady and up on their feet. So some of these predictive analytics will help us make better healthcare decisions. Something I'm also really excited about are the capacity of robots. I used to watch when I was a young kid. I'm sure many of you have seen the cartoon The Jetsons. And some of their predictions have come true, right? I remember as a young kid looking at people talk to each other using a video type phone, and now that's normal, right? We all FaceTime or Zoom or just like what we're doing now. Robots, also something that was in the Jetsons, is now coming to become a reality. There are different types of robots. There are some that are more for social robots. It sounds kind of sad, right? But there may not be enough people to provide companionship to older adults. Maybe an older adult may not be the best steward of a pet, so they could have a social robot or something that feels exactly like the pet. And it really does. Data shows these robotic pets, they look and feel just like a pet and provides a lot of the similar benefits that an actual pet does for someone. You'll see in the picture here, and I've got a video to follow this. Care robots also assist with mobility, and they can monitor health. So the future is, if you look at the picture on the bottom right hand of your screen, the picture is this person is getting all their healthcare needs at the bedside delivered by a robot. Here is the Tesla Optimus, which is a humanoid robot. I believe in the very near future, by 2030, I would imagine many people in their homes have a humanoid robot, whether it's from Tesla or the myriad of other companies that are making these things. And so why would someone want a robot? Well, there's several reasons. One is the cost of care today in San Diego County is around $40 an hour through a home care agency and potentially a little bit less than that through a private caregiver. Also, the caregivers, they get sick. These are people, they get sick or their car breaks or they show up late. Robots can always be reliable and they don't come late. And also, their cost is projected to be far smaller than a caregiver. Now, there's a lot of other things to think about when is a robot going to care for us? But I think the first iteration of these robots will actually be to do household chores. And take a look at where the Tesla Optimus robot is at now. So pretty incredible. These robots are going to do household chores, cooking, cleaning, folding laundry, doing dishes, right? And so that will help people age in place for even longer. And so some of the costs around this, I saw something that you could purchase a robot for tens of thousands of dollars potentially, or rent one for maybe a few $100s a month. And when you break down the cost of that, it is just a fraction of the cost of an actual caregiver. So I believe more and more and more people are going to have robotics. care for them in some capacity. About a year ago, I was in a senior living dining room, and I was having lunch in the dining room amongst about 80 other older adults that were living in this community. And I was having lunch, and I turned my head, and over in the corner is a robot that is bussing tables and then taking the dirty plates and dishes and silverware back to the kitchen. So it took the dishes, it wheeled itself back. And I couldn't believe it. It was the first time I've ever seen this. And then I looked around the room, the dining room, and saw that everyone else that was watching this, I wanted to see these older adults and their reactions. Nobody even blinked an eye. They just got used to it. It was normal. Unbelievable. And I believe that's what's going to happen here with these humanoid robots, is that it will just become a normal thing that people have. About a couple weeks ago, I was driving near a golf course, and I saw a robot cutting the grass. This used to be a job for a lawnmower to do. This robot was going up and down, back and forth, cutting the grass on the golf course. So again, the field of robotics is just absolutely accelerating so quickly. So stay tuned and pay attention to this. I mentioned about the robotic pets. Here's a video on pets and robotics.
We all know that pets can bring comfort and calm to their owners. It's why therapy animals are used in aged care. But what if those furry companions are robotic? A groundbreaking Queensland study is exploring the surprising benefits.
Debbie Macquarie regularly visits her mum June in aged care, but recently a friendly golden retriever called Daisy has been joining them. She's not your regular pooch, but a robotic companion.
The response from her is lovely, and I know it has a major effect on her.
Robotic pets are being used more in dementia care, with affordable and accessible models now able to be bought online for around $250. At Coinda House near Redcliffe, a Queensland University study is putting them to the test to see how they can be integrated and if they can do the job of their real-life counterparts.
Robotic pets are designed to resemble the behaviours of real pets.
Cleverly, they can move and make all the expected pet sounds.
So they're both interactive pets. The cat will purr, will go back to wash itself and enjoys a chest rub. And with Daisy here, will respond well to touch and to light.
So animals have been, they have demonstrated positive impacts in improving our mood, improving social interactions, reducing agitation.
Staff have already seen the benefits for residents.
It's helped them to have better social connections with other people within the facility.
There'll always be a place for real-life therapy animals, but these little space-age stand-ins do have their advantages. They don't need to be taken outside for regular nature breaks. Ooh, purr.
June grew up on a farm, so interacting with the companion pets is coming naturally.
Might bring her back to the feeling she had when she had more purpose, because I think as humans we need it.
Bruce Page, 9 News.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, all the data shows that having purpose at any phase in life helps us live longer. There was a study out of nursing homes, and there was a group of people who were in the nursing home. Their task was to take care of a plant, right? And then compared it to other people who just had to, live in the nursing home and were asked to do nothing to take care of. The people who were asked to take care of a pet, their recovery times and their discharge dates were far better than those who didn't care for a plant or a pet or anything like that. So there is significant power in us feeling like we are caring for others. And so certainly, especially these robotic pets for the world of dementia, I think are going to become more and more of a thing for us. Smart homes and aging in place, right? So if many of you may have the Amazon Alexa, that will help you with a litany of different things in your home. Remember to take your medications, to playing music, to a variety of different assets. We talked about smart sensors, but smart sensors can also detect falls. So if you wear an Apple Watch, that will also detect falls. Imagine falling and not having one of these devices on hand, and maybe you don't have the capacity to get up, or you've lost consciousness. I recently wrote a little article on a friend of mine who's 90 years old, and he fell in his bathtub, was not wearing any type of wearable device, emergency response pendant, nor did he have sensors. And no one knew he fell. He broke his hip, and he was in the bathtub for 48 hours before anyone knew. And he said, of course, this was the most scary and worst few days of his life. He couldn't believe he survived this. And so certainly this technology is not all that expensive and really should be in every home of an older adult. Automated lighting. So imagine waking up in the middle of the night for those who have to go to the bathroom and it's dark, right? Whereas the light switch, a lot of times, a lot of falls occur walking to the bathroom or walking back to bed in the middle of the night. There should be some type of automated lighting as you walk closer, right? The light triggers on. And all of these different metrics can be controlled through a single device like your phone. So if you had any interest in making your home more smart, I have several resources on how to do so. This technology is not all that expensive to implement either, and the cost continues to go down and down. One of my favorite topics is around wearable technology. I recently carried out a little study through San Diego State where we recruited some volunteers for a device that they are incubating to wear around the chest area to measure things health related. But we have smartwatches like the Apple Watch or different type of medical alert. There are biosensors that can detect your heart rate and oxygen levels, and certainly irregular gait movements when we walk. And then there's remote monitoring, right, which reduces hospital visits. A physician or nurse or some other clinician can monitor you from home, right, whether it's a blood pressure monitor or oxygen levels. And to avoid that person, maybe they're okay, right? Maybe if a clinician feels that they're okay, and that can avoid a hospital visit. For those of you who've been to the hospital, often it's you go there, you wait for a very long time in the emergency room, you're exposed to a bunch of different bacteria and viruses, and then maybe you go home hours and hours and hours later when you didn't maybe necessarily have to go in. That's the future. So this was a picture somewhat of what the device looked like that we recruited volunteers for. And if any of you are watching this video and are interested in participating in a study which will measure, right, it has this little hardware device around the chest that measures some of your health metrics for about a week, would love to get you on my list to enroll for a future trial. Some of those health metrics are, again, like heart rate, oxygen levels, social discussions, gait mobility, as well as sleep patterns. So during COVID, as I mentioned, telemedicine just absolutely burdened or ballooned up, and so many more people had access to digital healthcare, which was great, right? There's a lot of seniors that don't drive or can't get to their appointments because they don't have reliable transportation. And so now more and more people have access to a physician through telemedicine. And then medicine's going to get better, right? There is precision medicine for personalized treatments. It's pretty cool. This is one example. It's a bit personal, but I take a probiotic now that you can't get like in a conventional grocery store or somewhere else. These are good bacteria that I take probiotically that are specifically for the gut bacteria that I am needing precisely for me. And I believe that more medicines going forward will be precision, exactly what works for your DNA and what works for, your deficiencies. And so this picture right here, this is how you're going to have many doctor's appointments in the future, right? You're going to be hooked up to some blood pressure monitor while having a Zoom conversation with your clinician. And I want to say this is amazing. More people have access to doctors. We all struggle now with wait times of getting into doctor's appointments. I know many people struggle with getting specialty appointments like neurology or cardiology. It takes forever to see a doctor. With the massive explosion of older adults, users of the healthcare system coming, and just what seems like a shortage of clinicians, we're going to need to use technology in order to make the physician appointment a bit more efficient. And this is going to be just an exciting tool to do so. And then for those who are interested in just continuing to use AI to improve their cognitive and mental wellness, there's certainly like brain training apps. And I don't necessarily think that these apps will reverse dementia, but they can't hurt. And so there's a group called Lumosity, and I've got no financial tie to either Brain HQ or Lumosity, but these are two different platforms that offer some kind of brain teaser puzzles. And then you have virtual therapists, all powered by AI. And then there's virtual reality therapy for dementia patients, which is super cool. And I'll show a video on what that looks like later. But more and more people are going to use virtual reality as a therapy, whether you have dementia or, you're of any age. So here's the video right now.
Experience to them, it's triggering memory.
A North Carolina health tech startup is rolling out a program for people who suffer from dementia. It aims to provide therapy for seniors by introducing them to a virtual reality.
WCNC Charlotte's Tradisha Woodard explains the impact this computer-generated experience has on mood and health.
Care Yaya is using technology to bring a virtual reality to those suffering from memory loss.
It's not something you would think about as virtual reality and elders, but there's a big therapeutic impact.
They say those who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia are often put in more confined spaces out of an abundance of caution, which limits life experiences.
And that increases the rate of progression and brain deterioration.
Their new virtual reality program aims to combat health-related issues by safely engaging seniors from the comfort of their own home, allowing them to travel the world from the comfort of their own chair.
Somebody might be able to travel to London. Somebody might be able to go see the Eiffel Tower. They can go underwater diving off the coast of Australia.
They say this immersive experience is very therapeutic, improving moods and reducing depression and loneliness.
So we can bring the experience to them. It's triggering memories of trips they've taken decades past.
A trip down memory lane, a glimpse into another world.
It's been really heartwarming to see the impact.
Tradisha Woodard, WCNC Charlotte.
I just think this is so incredible, the virtual reality capacity, right? I don't love to travel, but I would love to visit Antarctica, right? So I put one of these on and it feels like you're in Antarctica. But imagine having dementia, and we often with any form of dementia, our long-term memory is better intact than our short-term. And that any agitation that one has, you can put on this device and it could take you back to a time, maybe in the 1950s or 1960s, 1970s, where the person has a much deeper memory of, a more familiarity, and it reduces the agitation. So this technology is super exciting for truly anyone.
New at 6, North.
And then, one of the biggest challenges of aging is loneliness and isolation. And so I believe technology will better help that. There's more social apps and chatbots that people will become more and more comfortable feeling like this is a companion. There's ChatGPT and certainly virtual family meetups, right? I think about during those COVID times when it was all about social distancing, and having that ability to do FaceTime was so critical for me and my family who lives out of state. And then certainly seniors who aren't living in a retirement community or their families live far away, being able to do things like Zoom are so incredibly important. There's a more senior-friendly video calling device called GrandPad or ViewClicks. Again, I've got no financial tie to either of them, but they offer a really nice product, and it sort of looks like in the bottom right hand of the screen. And so again, I believe that technology will better solve some of the isolation and loneliness challenges that we have as we age. So what is the future of AI and aging? I think there's going to be tremendous advancements in AI-driven predictive healthcare. We're going to have far better medicines and earlier diagnoses, and that's going to allow more of us to age well and healthier. We're going to have more sophisticated assistive robots. So like I mentioned, I think there's going to be some form of human robot in our homes, whether it's in 5 years or 10 years. It just seems so obvious that that's coming. And then there's going to be other robots like pets, and then the other robots that I mentioned, people that are cutting the grass and bussing dishes. But then we have to think about some of the ethical considerations and data privacy concerns. And that's, I know, what a lot of the societies and governments are discussing right now is how do we police this, and how do we not let AI get out of hand? And I don't have the answers there to that, but that's absolutely a consideration here. So some takeaways here, some calls to action are, I believe that AI, artificial intelligence, will enhance senior independence. And from my 20 years of work with older adults, that's what people want. We want to stay as independent as we possibly can. I think through smart homes, through wearable devices, having AI companions will absolutely improve safety and allow for greater independence. And so please, I would encourage you to continue to explore aging technology and then advocate for AI in senior care. This picture down here, is another really cool advancement that's been here a while, right? This is not as new, but we're getting closer and closer and closer to having it in, I think, many cities across the country, are these driverless cars. And I know Google's working on one, and Tesla's working on one, and Uber's working on it. And so I don't know if many of you have been to San Francisco and other cities, but you'll see these driverless cars going around, and perhaps they're even safer than human drivers. And so more people who are uncomfortable using an Uber in the future will just hail a car ride using their phone or some other device, and there won't be a driver inside the car. The future is unbelievable. I am so excited to be a part of this. We are, it's happening now. And I think that this generation of seniors and the baby boomer generation and my generation of millennials will all be beneficiaries, will all age happier and healthier because of this technology. So I open the floor to any questions, and I so appreciate your time.
Hi, Jonathan. Thank you so much. As we were talking about offline, it is incredible to see the just boom in all of the technologies that are out there. And you shared some today that I was not aware of, including the animal, the like automated pet. I'm thinking about getting one of those for my dog. That's a great way to easily entertain her. But very, very cool. I just have one quick question. Out in our work at CEAL, we go out a lot and we talk to older adults in the community about their perceptions around technology, the digital divide, all of these things. And we get a lot of different feedback. Some people are I think there's this whole perception that there's a lot of people that don't know how to use technology because they're older, but we meet a lot of older adults who I think could school me in how to use technology. So how do you approach when you're introducing new technology to people who are fearful or who have pushback? What are some ways to help people feel less afraid of technology?
Yeah.
If you have ideas.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'll go back to COVID, right? And imagine if we didn't know how to order items on Amazon or hail an Uber or go through this new app called Instacart, which allows help people get groceries, right? Some of these technologies really are a matter of life or death, right? They are helpful tools, knowing how to use the internet. And I can't imagine, right? Me growing up, I'm almost 40 years old. I had the opportunity to grow up kind of with a computer, but a lot of this stuff now is brand new to all of us. I can't imagine the challenges of those in their 80s and 90s, seeing a world that is so different. Share a quick story is that a couple of months ago, I was in the home of this man. He was in his early 80s, military guy, big, tough, strong guy, well over 6 feet tall. And he started tearing up and crying due to his frustration. About a year ago, he had a stroke, and he was the physicians took away his driver's license as he recovered. And he went to try and reapply for his at the DMV, trying to use that online DMV portal. And he couldn't figure it out. And it was so frustrating to him. It literally, this big, strong military man, it brought him to tears. And so I think a major challenge from our society is how are we going to train everyone to use this technology and be comfortable with it? I think picking one thing at a time is really helpful to try and not make it overwhelming. And there are so many organizations all across the country that are training older adults in how to use some of this basic technology. And I think the media and our society uses these big words for some of this tech, but to use it is actually, it can be fairly simple. And I'm confident that people can figure this out.
Yeah. Thank you. That's encouraging, Jonathan. Even for me, I'm still struggling to sometimes get those QR codes scanned.
Me too.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We are always grateful to hear from you and to hear your insights. For those of you at home, we are going to have our final SEAL Healthy Longevity webinar series in December. We are going to be talking about in-home supports and services and how to access those services. So please join us then. Thank you, Jonathan.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.